in the heart of Africa. Nestled by a wide, slow-moving river, lay the village of Kumasi. For as long as anyone could remember, the village lived in perfect harmony with the land. Its lifeblood was the great river, which fed the central well and nourished the fields. Life was a predictable, gentle rhythm of children playing, women fetching water, and men tending to their crops, all under the watchful gaze of an ancient baobab tree. But one year the dry season came with a cruel twist. The river, once full of life, grew quiet. Its flow to the village well slowed, sputtered, and then stopped completely. Panic began to ripple through the community. The heartbeat of Kumasi had fallen silent. The village elders gathered under the great baobab, their faces etched with worry. They spoke in hushed tones, consulting ancient wisdom, debating the signs, but no quick solution appeared. Watching them was Jomo, a young hunter, strong and restless. His hands itched for action, not talk. He saw their discussions as dithering, their patience as weakness. He couldn't stand the waiting finally. His impatience boiled over. He stood up, his voice ringing with youthful confidence. "The river is blocked," he declared. "Words won't clear the path. I will go to its source and fix this myself." The elders cautioned him, urging him to wait, to observe the land, to listen. But Jomo waved away their advice. To him, strength and speed were the answers to every problem. Gripping his sharpest axe, he turned his back on the village and marched upstream, determined to force the river back to life. He was sure he'd return a hero by sunset. Jomo plunged into the dense thicket along the riverbed. He was a force of nature, hacking at tangled roots that clung to the dry earth and chopping through fallen branches that lay in his path. He worked with a fierce energy, sweat stinging his eyes. He found small blockages, piles of debris from the last flood, and cleared them with powerful swings of his axe. Each time he cleared a path, he would pause, listening for the rush of returning water, his eyes fixed on the distant village. But nothing changed. The well remained dry. The river's song remained absent from Kumasi. As the sun climbed higher, Jomo's energy began to wane. His arms grew heavy, his confidence cracking under the relentless heat and the deafening silence. The riverbed stretched before him, an endless, mocking puzzle. He had applied all his strength, yet he had accomplished nothing. Exhaustion and frustration gnawed at him. He was beginning to understand that brute force was a language the silent river did not speak. While Jomo toiled with his axe, a different kind of wisdom was at work back in the village. Beneath the ancient baobab, Mama Nandi, the village's oldest and most revered elder, sat on a woven mat. She didn't join the worried discussions. She didn't offer commands or predictions. Instead, she held a small, beautifully carved drum in her lap. Her weathered hands rested on its surface, and she began to tap. It wasn't a rhythm for dancing or a beat for a ceremony. It was a soft, gentle, almost imperceptible pulse, a quiet conversation with the world around her. Thump, thump, a sound so low you could feel it more than hear it. The other elders, who had known her for a lifetime, fell silent. They watched her, not with confusion, but with deep respect. They knew she wasn't just drumming, she was listening. She was tuning into a frequency that Jomo, in his noisy haste, couldn't even perceive. She was listening to the silent song of the land itself. Defeated and humbled, Jomo dragged himself back to the village as the afternoon sun began to dip. His axe felt heavy and useless in his hand. He saw the villagers gathered, and his eyes fell upon Mama Nandi, still sitting beneath the baobab, her fingers tapping their silent rhythm. He collapsed on the ground nearby, too tired to speak, and simply watched. As the world settled around him, his senses, no longer dulled by the roar of his own efforts, began to awaken. He noticed the unique way the leaves on the baobab rustled in the faint breeze. He heard the distinct call of a sunbird, a call he hadn't heard all season. He felt the subtle shift in the air. Then Mama Nandi stopped. The silent pulse ceased. She slowly raised her arm, her long, wrinkled finger pointing not upstream, but towards a cluster of smooth, grey rocks near the village's edge of the riverbanker spot everyone had overlooked. Jomo followed her gaze, his brow furrowed in confusion. He walked over to the rocks, his heart pounding with a new kind of anticipation. And then he saw it. The ground around the rocks was darker, ever so slightly damp. He realized the river hadn't been blocked at all. The rhythm of the dry season had simply changed its course. The water was flowing, but it had found a new hidden path deep underneath that specific rock formation. Mama Nandi joined him, her voice as soft as the beat of her drum. "The land speaks in seasons, Jomo," she explained. "It has its own pulse. Sometimes you must listen to its silent drum rather than try to force its path with a loud axe." She had known where to look, not by seeing, but by feeling the land's patterns. The subtle shifts that her years of patient observation had taught her to understand. With Jomo's renewed strength, the villagers carefully shifted a few key stones. A trickle of water appeared, then a gurgle, and then, with a joyful rush, the water began to flow strongly back into its old channel, filling the well once more. Cheers erupted, and the village came alive with celebration. That day, Jomo learned a lesson his strength alone could never have taught him. He learned that not all problems can be solved with an axe. Sometimes the greatest power is found in patience, in quiet observation, and in listening to the silent wisdom passed down through generations, the wisdom of those who understand the land's deepest rhythms. The song of the silent drum wasn't in Mama Nandi's instrument. It was the land itself, and she had taught them all how to listen. Thanks for watching. True wisdom often whispers instead of shouts. What are the silent drums you need to listen for in your own life? We'd love to read your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more fables from around the world.